as Jay spoke so eloquently about the genesis of the vision that became Tempe Preparatory Academy, another key player in those early days was Dr. Thomas Butler, currently a professor of reading and critical thinking at Paradise Valley Community College. I suppose he'd want to work in a church if he could and do that. So committed was Tom to the TPA cause that he took a sabbatical from the college to become the school's first headmaster. As the leader of this new endeavor, the pillars on which TPA stood were critical to Dr. Butler and the school's earliest success. For Dr. Butler, one of those pillars was Jack Evans himself, whom he called a scholar, a gentleman, a warrior, and a friend. Thomas.
Thank you. A couple folks have mentioned that TPA, Tempe Prep, had its origins in the living room, in Jack's living room. I need to correct that. It's Rosie's living room. And by the way, the first name for Tempe Preparatory Academy remains in my heart, the stealth name of it. And if you'd like to know what that is, please ask Rosie afterwards. She was the person who authored that name. A very appropriate one as well. Has to do with hope. I've known Jack for 35 years. The first time I saw him, he was a long-haired professor at a prayer meeting at the Newman Center with Rosie at his side. In 1981, my bride was generously provided housing and hospitality by Rosie for several months prior to our wedding, officiated by Father Tom DeMann, and they guarded her vigilantly. They're also godparents to our eldest child, Marisa, who could not be here with us tonight. I've been in men's fellowship groups with Jack over the years, and I've worked closely with him as a co-founder and board member at Tempe Prep. And I've also had the good fortune of taking several university courses from him. Jack is the epitome of a gentleman, as we've already heard. He's courteous, he's self-effacing, he thinks of others first. And although he can exhort and inspire, let's hope the expire part doesn't happen too soon. He can exhort and inspire with sincere passion. He's unfailing in his gentle demeanor as he listens and converses with anyone. He thinks the best of you, and he always sees the best in you. He never boasts of his accomplishments. If he boasts, he always boasts in the Lord. After that, in his choice of wife. I've never heard an unkind word from Jack about anyone. He's a man who governs his tongue and uses it for good. You can't separate the gentleman from this scholar. Not only is Jack a well-educated and incisive thinker, he's a humane and sensitive man in the classroom. And what you see in private and in social settings is what you get in the classroom, an authentic human being. For Jack, all his students are treated as scholars, fellow travelers in the adventure of learning. I had the good fortune of being a student in 2 university classes taught by Jack, by Dr. Evans. The first in the early 90s in a course at ASU in the poetry of John Milton. When I took that course, I had already had my own doctorate in education for 10 years, and I was the eldest member of his class, and old enough to be the father of most of the students in there. And I was a bit nervous about how smart the students would think I was. Reading that great 17th century poet was difficult, but with Dr. Evans, he continually challenged us to think, and he was most adept at bringing together a disparate group of atheists and agnostics and all stripes of believers into a collegial and fraternity, into a collegial fraternity of seekers after truth and wisdom. It was the best and most thought-provoking class I had had in 25 years of post-high school education. One example of his skill and kindness to a student with a sensitive ego, that would be me. We'd been studying some of Milton's sonnets, and I decided to compose a poem on an important and noble theme, using the complicated rhyme scheme of the 14-line Petrarchan sonnet form. Sometime after the course, I asked my once again colleague, Jack, for his opinion, as I wished to submit the poem for publication somewhere, anywhere. He considered my contorted effort thoughtfully, and he said, in all fraternal and collegial earnestness, "Tom, this is an important theme. I think you should submit it in free verse." Nuanced as ever, he didn't say, "Tom, you need to rewrite this." Well, the second time I took a course from Dr. Evans was 15 years later at Notre Dame, the Phoenix Institute. Once again, as a 50-something, well, 59, the oldest member of the class, once again, old enough now to be the grandfather of most of the students. Jack was equally enthusiastic then in his subject matter, heroism and Western culture, as he was 15 years prior. He was equally encouraging of his mostly young students. He'd gotten not tired over the years, but better. That was the second most stimulating class I'd ever taken in my career. Many will quite naturally think of Jack's contributions to the building of TPA as intellectual and academic, and they were very important contributions. But that would overlook other qualities of character that were just as essential. A very careful listener, a soft-spoken participant who encouraged and never discouraged, as we struggled to give form and detail to the budding enterprise. And despite the daunting challenges that we faced in birthing and nurturing the academy, while Jack was never a Pollyanna, he was always an optimist. And that quality of optimism is one of the essential characteristics in a hero warrior leader. A belief in the rightness and the success of the cause, and an ability to arouse that belief in others and the courage to pursue it unflinchingly. He's a warrior of deceptive gentleness, disarming not with a sword of steel, but with the sword of truth and kindness. Truth, spoken in love, never needs force. It has its own force. His armor is, unfailingly, truth, goodness, and beauty. Or to paraphrase Ephesians, the truth buckled around his waist with the breastplate of righteousness and shod with the beautiful gospel of peace. Jack is a hero to so many of us. Why has he been such an attractive character for so many students and others, for all of us, really? He listens carefully when you speak to him. He responds with kindness, gentleness, and humility, and his words always encourage. He speaks with authority, not because of his learnedness, but because of his great character. Thank you, Jack, for making this world a more humane place. Thank you, Jack, for making us better people.